Good evening, everyone. We go to the second episode. That is as far as performance guarantee by banks. Sometimes bank gives performance guarantees for performance on behalf of a party to the contract, and depends on the obligation undertaken by it is an autonomous contract, and imposes absolute obligation on the bank on its part. It is in credit note in favor of the person to whose favor the bank guarantees has been given, and it should be encashable like a credit note unless the intention of the parties is different. Here mostly we do what is, suppose let us say someone files a suit against me for let us say recovery of 50 lakhs. I don't have that 50 lakhs with me presently. Then I go to the bank, sir, why don't you furnish bank guarantee for that 50 lakhs? What the bank says is, I want business, I will furnish you bank guarantee, but you will have to give me a fixed deposit of 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs. Then the customer gives a fixed deposit of 20 lakhs and 30 lakhs. That's how the bank makes a business. And then as far as that 50 lakhs is concerned, it undertakes by way of bank guarantee to the court, saying, sir, in case the suit is decreed, whatever indebtedness is on the part of the debtor, and in case it does not make the payment, we shall make that payment to the court or deposit that money into the court as and when called upon. And this is what is called performance guarantee. Then features are oral or writing. There should be a debt. Benefit to the principal debtor is sufficient consideration. Consent obtained by misrepresentation is voidable. Under section 142 and 143 it is invalid. Section 143 of the act offered by concealment invalid. Here the features of this is the performance guarantee can be either oral or it can be in writing. Second one is there should be a debt, and then the principal debtor must be liable to pay the debt to the creditor, and then there shall not be any misrepresentation, there shall not be any fraud, there shall not be any other vitiating elements of the contract, and the question is it should be purely fair and transparent. In those cases, the question is a performance guarantee is supported by consideration and it is enforceable. Here one illustration I can give you on this aspect, sir. A engages B as a clerk to collect money for him. B fails to account for some of the receipts, and as a consequence calls upon him to furnish security for his accounts. C gives guarantee for B as that is B's accounting, and does not so C in B's presence a previous contact, the guarantee is invalid. Here sir, question is here A engages a clerk to collect money. He is a bill collector, to collect the profits, to collect the rents, and so on and so forth. B collects the money, but some of the receipts which he furnishes or the vouchers which he gives does not tally with the collections made. Then in that case, the A questions B as to what you have done. Please explain this. Please furnish security for the amounts which you have not accounted for. Then C comes forward and says that in case any amount is due after the proper accounts are taken, I will make the payment, I will discharge the debt, I will discharge the obligation. But please remember, if the question is at that time, the creditor must inform the surety or the guarantor that previous also he has done it. Please be careful when you are giving. Then if the person is cautioned, then it's enforceable. But if the surety is in the blind, he is not informed about anything, the guarantee given is invalid. Then 144 speaks about guarantee on contract. Creditor shall not act on the unless the co-sureties agree. Here guarantee on contract, creditor shall not act on it unless co-sureties agree. The question is, once there is more than one surety, all the sureties will have to agree, then alone the contract of guarantee becomes enforceable. Then 145 speaks about implied promise to indemnify surety. So the creditor says, don't bother, sir, If you make the payment, we will hand over all the securities to you, and we give you the warranty, we give you the indemnity, we give you the implied promise that all the securities will be made available to you, and you can proceed against the debtor for recovery of the money which you have paid on his behalf. Then here when there are 146 says when there are co-sureties, all of them are liable jointly or severally, but they are liable to contribute equally. Suppose the debt is 5 lakhs. Out of 5 lakhs will be divided into 4 parts. That is 1.25, 1.25, whatever it is. They are liable to contribute proportionately. Then one for liability of co-surety is bound as different sums. The question is liability of guarantee sureties bound on different sureties. The question is to the extent to which they have stood guarantee on behalf of the principal debtor, they are liable to pay. Now we go to the distinction between indemnity and guarantee. Here indemnity is a bipartite agreement. Indemnity where are only two parties, one called the indemnifier and another is called the indemnity holder or the indemnified. There are two parties, one is the indemnifier, another is the indemnity holder. But as far as contract of guarantee is concerned, it is tripartite. You have got the principal debtor, you have got the creditor, and you have got the guarantor. So indemnity consists of two parties, one called the indemnifier and another called the indemnity holder. But as far as the contract of guarantee is concerned, it's a tripartite contract. That means you have the creditor, you have the debtor, and you have the guarantor. Then second one is liability of the indemnifier is primary. The question is, as far as the liability is concerned, the indemnifier is liable to indemnify only when as a primary responsibility. The question is only when there is a loss, only when there is a damage, only when there is a deterioration, only in those circumstances the indemnifier is liable. But as far as guarantee is concerned, once a surety is there, his liability is coextensive with that of the debtor. The question is, if the debtor does not pay, debtor does not discharge his liability, does not perform his contractual obligation, the guarantor has to discharge it or has to perform it. Then as far as indemnity is concerned, liability is original. Under the indemnity agreement, it emanates from the agreement between the parties. But as far as guarantee is concerned, it is collateral. Collateral means the liability of a surety comes into play only when the debt is not paid, debt is not satisfied, then it is taken as an additional security for the benefit of the creditor. Then as far as indemnity is concerned, the question is only one contract. There is the indemnifier and the indemnity holder. But as far as guarantee is concerned, there are three contracts. How, sir? The debtor becomes liable to the guarantor, debtor becomes liable to the guarantor, then the guarantor becomes liable to the creditor, and the debtor and the creditor joined together become jointly and severally liable to the creditor. Are you able to follow, please? So here I will give you an example, sir. Here mostly what happens is we have the a promissory note. If you see a printed promissory note which is available in the market, you have got two parts. One is called a receipt and another is called a promissory note. A receipt says, I so-and-so, 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 son of so-and-so, resident of so-and-so, do promise to pay Mr. so-and-so a sum of rupees so-and-so taken by me as hand loan. Then he puts his signature on a revenue stamp. Witnesses may or may not be there and it is dated. Then as a consequence, after executing the receipt in proof of having received the money, he promises to repay the money on demand / order. I so-and-so do promise to pay Mr. so-and-so a sum of rupees so-and-so due and payable by me towards the hand loan obtained from him with interest at 2% per month. Then you have a revenue stamp beneath it, and then on the revenue stamp the debtor signs, and the receipt also the debtor signs. But please remember, in a printed promissory note, you shall not fill up the down column, that is surety or zamin or hami antaru chudandi. If you fill it up, then what happens is it is not a promissory note, it is what is called a bond. you have to pay 3% of the 3% of the debt as stamp duty. But normally what the bank does is, if you see a bank promissory note, they call it as a DP note. First, the debtor executes the promissory note in favor of the guarantor for a particular sum of money, and on stamp he signs it. Then what the guarantor does is, on the reverse of it, he endorses it on in favor of the creditor, who may be a banker, and then puts his signature under stamp and then puts the date also. That means first the primary liability is that of the debtor towards the guarantor, then the guarantor towards the creditor, and then principal debtor and the guarantor together are jointly and severally liable to the creditor by that endorsement. That's why it is called DP note. You just keenly observe it, sir. You have only one sheet, but a promissory note has got two parts, but a bank DP note consists of only one part. That is, it is called DP note. So this is as far as the contract of indemnity is concerned. In the next class, we will be discussing law of bailment, that is from section 148 to 181. Then after that you got the law of pledge or law of pawn. Then after that we go to the last chapter called law of agency. So we have finished 2 episodes. I regret that for the past 2 days we could not hold the class because of heavy rains at Hyderabad and due to certain other factors. Kalyan sir,